Hi everyone, my name is Nia Overstreet. It's a pleasure to see you all and I hope you're all having a beautiful day. Today I am in an amazing community garden called Soul Garden. It is based in the valley. It's absolutely stunning. We have a composting area right behind me. In this video I will be not only doing a tour of the community garden, but I also will be talking to some interns as well as community residents who come by and put their compost in, as well as getting herbs, fruits that are currently being harvested from the community garden.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, one of the Shift Our Ways Collective co-founders, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about how we got started. So in 2020, in January of 2020, a group of women decided that we wanted to reclaim a space that we had been eyeing for some time. And I remember introducing it and saying, hey, there's this open available space and we can rent it out from the owners of the home next door. At that time, this space was pretty much just a dump zone, and there was a no litter sign on the fence, and on the wall behind me was actually just a bunch of graffiti that we had to paint up and cover. But that really brought us together to share our ideas. I used to be a school teacher. Maddie, our other co-founder, grew up in Minnesota in a farm, like her families are farmers. Maddie grew up in China and came here and is a super huge advocate for housing advocacy. And then we had our other founder, and she was studying to become a mechanical engineer. So all together, we put our brains together and we decided, how can we give food to people and how can we be sustainable at the same time, where we don't have to add any byproducts to our food that we kind of don't need it. So that is where So came out. So now, since then, we've hosted over 100 events. We've partnered with over 55 nonprofits, and we've been able to provide over 4,000 pounds of fresh produce, and we've been able to divert over 8,000 pounds of food scraps. So that's just to paint a little picture for y'all on what you can do when you have a great team and a really beautiful community. Very open so that you feel welcome to come in and look. A lot of people will peek in and say, oh, are you selling anything? And to their surprise, when we're like, no, everything's free, come and harvest with us, they love that, or they'll see what they could get. Or it's also a little bit of a shock or disbelief, so it does take a lot of trust, building trust. But yeah, so you come to the table. Usually there's like a weight here to weigh the harvest and the compost, and then our community will go ahead and scan in how much they harvested or how much food scraps they brought for the compost. We also have like a little basket. People are free to take and harvest from that basket. If you're volunteering, you can grab a pair of gloves and some tools to come and do some gardening with us. Each bed is different. Each bed is kept in mind with the thought of companion planting. So companion planting is just making sure that plants are compatible with each other so that they can support each other's growth and they're not creating any barriers, such as like if a pepper grows too tall for like a plant that's kind of on the bottom, you want to make sure you're giving enough shade or enough sunlight to those plants. So right here we've got some strawberries. This is pretty much all strawberry ran. I think there's like a little bit of thyme right there. But for the most part, this strawberry bed took over and they look so healthy. Fun fact, strawberries were the first plants that we planted on the farm. And that's our first bed right there. We've got some tomatoes in here that are already growing so beautifully. We have, I want to say, I know how many plants we have, but I want to say varieties. We probably have like 5 different varieties of tomatoes, so that's going to be fun. I'm going to squeeze through here. I'm passing the black sage here, which is very medicinal. And then getting back into our first bed, which is the strawberries. But I came here because I wanted to talk about how you can see companion planting happening. So chives are put in the center, and chives provide a pest repellent for the strawberries. So that's always a plus. As mentioned, we don't use any store-bought fertilizers or any pesticides to like remove pests or any mites from it. We just power hose it with water, and we kind of let them do their thing and add different plants to repel those insects as needed. Some more seeds. We are a native plant habitat, which is great because we have a lot of pollinators. We have over 80 species of plants growing around here, so that's really cool. This is a highlight. So a little later you're going to see some beautiful sunflowers coming from these. It's called the Teutonian, or also a Mexican sunflower, and they are really great for nitrogen fixing. So when you want to add nutrients to your soil, you just chop them and drop them into the leaves in the roots into the soil. Yeah. And then right here you'll see our peach tree, which has a lot of peaches. It is popping. And then around is a border of black sage. You might be noticing like it's a little rogue. It's not perfectly trimmed or anything like that, but that is how life is. It's biodiverse, and it's making sure that we are respecting the microorganisms and the soil that live here. We're a no-till farm, so that means we do not extract any nutrients from the soil. When we are done, or the plants are done, we pretty much just kind of let them get back into the soil. Some of them we'll put into the compost, but for the majority, they kind of just go back in the soil, and then we plant over them. And that makes sure that we're not disrupting the already existing soil. And we've got some peppers here. This is like more of a tropical plant. We do like to experiment. And some of our neighbors will recognize those plants that they have in their garden, so it's a really nice talking point and familiarity to our neighbors who come and visit us. And then back here is where the compost magic happens. We do host workshops here annually. We have 2 compost focused workshops, and that just makes sure that people know that they're welcomed here. If you don't have space in your backyard and you want to compost and you're already saving your food scraps, come toss them over here. Come, meet us, and you can also go home with a nice bounty of your own. So, yeah, we welcome you here.
So what is he doing right now?
So he is pulling out the compost, or also known as churning the compost, because you want to add some movement and some friction so that whatever microbes are in there, they're kind of spreading. They don't just like sit in one place. So they'll be moving around the compost.
Okay. And what does that do for the compost?
So that allows for air to get into it, which will also allow odors to kind of be released, things of that nature. But as it's doing this, it's churning. So I should kind of revert back. So right now you're seeing more of the food scraps.
Okay.
What you're doing right now is you're making the compost. So the byproduct of what he's doing is going to be that compost, which we have over here that you can see. And so it turns into what is now the compost. So all the food scraps are now.
Wow, okay.
And this is like a soil amendment. The process of making compost it becomes routine. So it could be very simple. And what you're kind of seeing here, we're going to be making windrows. So they're large piles of food scraps. So you start with your food scraps, you start with your carbon, your nitrogen. So your food scraps would technically be like the nitrogen portion. The carbon would be mulch, anything that is brown. You could think twigs, you could think brown paper even. As long as it's not bleach paper, you can add it into your compost. We actually have a really cool what you're able to put in here if you want to come on this side. I'm actually standing on hay as well. So all this little corner here is stuff that we're able to toss in the compost. So for your green items or your nitrogen is fruits, vegetables, your eggshells, coffee grounds and tea bags, green leaves, grass trimmings, old flowers. But it's always great to ask your local compost site, or if you're going to be doing it at home, deciding if you're going to be able to process meats or dairy. We do not process meats or dairy. We just know that if we're not getting our bins hot enough, then we're going to attract pests such as like rats and such. We can't deal with that right now. Then you have your brown items, and we've got what I showed you, the mulch wood chips, the hay that I'm standing on. Sawdust is really great. We do use that. Twigs. You can use newspaper as well, and shredded brown paper, and like paper that you wash your hands as long as it's brown. But so that it could be as simple as that. Talking more if you're gonna create like a 3-bin system. Maybe if you're gonna do it in an apartment or a home, you end up doing it like in an actual container. All the process is very similar. You do want to have holes in your container if you're doing it in an apartment, but if you have a little space to do it outside, it's the lasagna effect. So you want to have some brown, you want to have your greens, which are your food scraps, and then just keep laying it. Get some sawdust from like a local hardware store if they have any in the back. They might. Coffee grounds, you can get them from your local coffee shop. So we do like to partner with local restaurants, coffee shops, so that they can come and drop off their food scraps here. Well, what are you doing right now?
So basically, I'm just pulling everything out so that we can let air in for all the. So if you zoom in, you can see all the little bugs that are living down here, and this basically just gives them all air and for the stuff to decompose faster.
Add kind of to what Juan said, so he talked about a little bit of the decomposers. While we're pulling it out, we also add water to it. You don't want a super dry pile because then it's not alive. And we need to remember that compost and soil is alive. So you want to keep adding those ingredients, water, carbon, to your existing food scraps that comes into compost, because you want to make sure that you're curating an environment where microorganisms are working together.
Okay. And what is the importance of compost, and why is it more beneficial than using herbicides and pesticides?
Absolutely. So herbicides, when we think of fertilizers, let's go back to like fertilizers. Not all fertilizers are created equal. Even though some of them may say organic, we want to remember that we know what we're cooking in the kitchen. When I was being taught about composting, I was taught to think of it as a recipe. Like, what are the ingredients? Don't you want to know what ingredients you're using? So what we have here is we know what we're putting. We know we're putting some hay. We know we're putting mulch. We know where our mulch is coming from, what tree variety, because tree variety could also be important. For example, you don't want to have too much mulch from a eucalyptus tree because that could be toxic and a little bit more acidic for your plants. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's very beneficial to know what's in your compost versus the fertilizers that you purchase. You don't know all the ingredients. And it's also cheaper. It's not in plastic bags. You're really going to be saving money in the long run for being able to produce your own compost and having it here for transportation. So it's like cost, transportation, and also knowing what you're cooking up.
Yeah.
Megan, I'm assuming is part of the LA Compost Co-op. Perfect. So she's a great example of what the LA Compost Co-op is. You're able to sign up. If we're in your neighborhood, you're then able to drop off your compost, and after that you do get to reap the fruit of your labor and come back and pick up any finished compost. So it's a really nice co-op that we got going on, and we host workshops here. So if anybody wants to come, they're able to join in those workshops, and there's 2 annually.
2 annually. Okay, perfect. Guys, go ahead, check that out. As you can see, adding the. Go ahead. That is so cool.
So I guess my whole spiel of why I started doing this is I just really kind of wanted to learn more about composting and like being more sustainable, which is why I found the LA compost thing, because I loved the idea of learning a little bit more how to garden, because I'm very much an apartment on my garden. So I love doing programs like this because I feel like I'm, one, being less wasteful, and 2, I kind of learn a little bit more like seasonality and what to do for my own garden.
Okay, awesome.
when we first started, this was an empty lot. Just like close your eyes and imagine, completely empty. This wall was full of graffiti, and there was a sign outside before these edges that are now really beautiful and tall and green and provide a little bit of shade and privacy. There was just like a sign that said no littering. And on this little corner where this bin is now, like up into this spot, it was a bunch of sugar cane. So the sugar cane is actually very beautiful that we were able to maintain some of it as well.
Yeah.
And when we first were about to start chopping all the sugar cane, we had someone in the neighborhood who came through, and he asked us if he could keep it. And he came back and he had woven baskets for us from the leaves. We don't have any of the baskets now, but at that time it was a really beautiful gift. And it just shows you that everything here is community made, and it's so important to include everybody because not all of us get the privilege to have a space to grow and to just have open air and a shared space that kind of empowers us to be part of our food system.
Exactly. Do you harvest the sugar?
We can. So the way that you would do it, you just chop it, you peel it, and you let it dry out.
That's it?
It is like a little, I mean, it takes a while to dry out completely because it's like such a thick root, but totally possible. You can even like bite onto it or like suck on it instead of like chewing gum. I used to do that a lot. My grandpa would just like harvest them, bring them to the house, and we would like chew on sugarcane. Whatever you want to use, B-roll. So these benches came from Minnesota. Maddie's dad is a carpenter, so he made these benches for us. And she brought them in her little Dodge car, tiny car. And this one was just like donated, offered up. And then, so we created the stage. We went to this spot called Eco Set, and it's basically where a bunch of people in like studios or film industry, they'll go and they'll donate all the stuff from their sets. And so we're able to go, you have to schedule an appointment, and then you're able to go pick up whatever they have in there, whether it's plywood, paint. It's an awesome spot. So if you're ever looking, like, that's where we got this. This bench that we're kind of using in the back, which you can't see too much, was actually made by one of our neighbors, and his name is Isaac, and his grandpa. And they brought it to us, which was really sweet.
That is awesome.
We have a projector because we've had some movie nights over the summer. So those are just some of the events that we like to put together.
Yeah.
We have a little library, so people can come grab some books in there. Kind of just use this as more storage. We have many initiatives and programs here at Shift Our Ways Collective, and one of them is called our Youth and Community Harvest Internship. So it's a paid internship opportunity. It's honestly very easy process to get in, and I just want to highlight the importance of providing work for all people of our community, those who are unhoused, LGBTQIA+, because those are the communities that often face the most barriers when it comes to opportunities like this, and especially opening up and letting people know that there are jobs in the environmental space, and there are non-traditional jobs like working outdoors and being able to cultivate your own food, composting. So it's really important that when we think about the food that we're growing, if we're not eating it ourselves or if we're not getting enough harvesting, where does that food go? So we do make an effort to take it to our community fridges or call up food banks and let them know that we have food. We actually have a nonprofit that's down the street called Mend, and Mend is open to the community. They have a huge facility where they're able to save produce. So we do donate produce to those communities. So it's kind of just how we see we can do a small part in the food kind of direction and food systems. I also wanted to talk about in our programs, as we're trying to save food and we're trying to distribute food to everybody who's in need, we make sure that we have partnerships with local shelters. We have worked with shelters for women who have experienced DA, and we've also worked with shelters who help homeless youth. So that's just something that we keep in mind because we know that there is need out there. And if we can be of service to you, please let us know how, and we're happy to help.
Yep, my name is Trevor. I've been volunteering with Shift Our Ways Collective for about 3.5 years, and It's a really welcoming, warm community. Part of what attracted me to Shift Our Ways Collective, I found them on Instagram, and I saw photos of people just really enjoying gardening and posts about sustainability and regenerative agriculture and climate change, and I thought this would be such a great group to get involved with. And I've learned so much while I've been here. I did not know about gardening before. I thought, oh, plants are plants, they love water and sunlight, but different plants love different environments. They love different amounts of water, different amounts of sunlight. So I'm really learning and growing with my volunteer experience. And Shift Our Ways has just been so great for me personally. In terms of my social life, I've made great friends here. It's also benefited others professionally. We have an internship program for 16 to 24-year-olds that's funded through the city. And we also have had alumni from volunteers from our farm get jobs with other nonprofits, such as Tree People and LA Compost. I feel so blessed to have found this space. And I'm so happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Danielle, and I found this organization by a friend. She told me that she grew up in here, so this has been around for a while, this program, but this garden, I heard about it from the program, and they said it's really nice, it's very open, and I love gardening. I love greenery, so when I heard there was a garden, I signed up real quick. And I think one of the best things about it is just being here is like very therapeutic. You're around just fresh air all the time. A lot of sweet people come in throughout the community, and I think that's really nice. Like, it brings a community together very well, you know, and it makes a lot of people more social, so I really like that.
Yeah, awesome. And how long have you been volunteering?
I just started. Like, this is probably like my first month, I would say. So yeah, and I'm really liking it so far. I definitely think I'm gonna be doing this long term.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Hello, my name is Juan Diego Andrades, and initially I started this because my mom told me about the internship, and I was really looking for a job, and then I came here and they gave me a job, but it doesn't even really feel like a job. It feels like a time to hang out with everybody. It really connects everyone. I say my favorite thing is how relaxing it is when I get here. I get here really early. I get here earlier than everybody else, so I open the front gate and I just sit down for a little while, especially when the sun is coming up, and I just like listen to the birds and to the leaves and everything, and it really calms me down. Yeah. And I think this is a good place for our community. I think every community should have one of these. It really connects all of us. Like, some of our neighbors come and they bring us like little snacks, and we just have a good talk, you know. And without this, I would have never met like some of these people, and I'm really glad I met them.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Hi, I'm KJ, and what got me into community garden is we do a lot of, I like fruits and vegetables a lot, and what I like most about community gardens is they teach us how to sustain and grow our food healthily, and they teach us a lot of gardening techniques.